Dude, I just hit this guy for 5k. 5.2k with a left click. Season 10 is out and the entire gear system and game balance has changed, and I will let you know why this is very good for the SnS Hatchet assassin build. Let's dive right in. The most interesting change for us are the offensive charms on the gear. This means instead of going for defensive perks as we used to, we can go for perks which increase our damage output. First, I will show you the build and the changes. After that, I will give you a brief explanation about the gearing system and where to find the stuff. Alright guys, this is the optimal build that I'm chasing the items for. First to the armor items. We play with tumblers, of course. I think it's the only light artifact which is somewhat useful on this build. Because a lot of other light artifacts, they got changed, they got nerfed, or they just don't play well on this build. Anyway, to the armor items. We want 3 offensive charms on each of those. And beside of those offensive charms, we want fixed perks. Important, or rather mandatory fixed perks, in my opinion, is Lifestealer's Draught. This is basically half of a blood drinker effect if you haven't used a potion. Then obviously Vital Synergy is still biz on the chestware. And we want to have at least one, or rather one mortal aggression. It doesn't stack, so just get one. This is basically all the old mortal perks in one, which is insane. And the second perk you want on those items is Prolonged Favor. Prolonged Favor is really good because it also increases your berserk duration and all the other buffs you have, for example the tumbler stuff as well. And this is on pretty much every build almost. So you can get your base duration of the berserk to like 7.5 seconds and the total duration to 18 seconds, and this is crazy. So you should try to get this, but it's really hard to get those items. I will dive deeper in the explanation, the roll rates later. So yeah, so much about the armor items. If you can't get the Prolonged Favor, you can also go for Sacrificial Empowerment for some additional damage. The jewelry, we want 3 fixed perks on each, and preferably 2 offensive charms, of course. We want double protection on the amulet and health. Those are like the best options we can get there so far. The ring is very important. You can stack a lot of damage in those. Like you already see 10% base damage is already set anyway. We should get slash damage too, of course. It's 8% in power. We should get Rogue Alacrity. This, I think, should be a mandatory perk on a ring for any melee hunter, because we can remove the enemy's haste with this and apply it to ourselves. This is very important as a melee because the common issue that melee players have is chasing hasted targets, and whenever they have haste and you left click, you're just not gonna connect. And this will probably remove that issue if you manage to hit somehow with a leaping strike or a throw or something. Cursed Enchantment is also insane, 10% enchanted basically, but in trade-off for the -5% base damage on abilities, which is bearable. But our Hatchet left clicks would absolutely destroy people if we have this perk, and this ring is, well, it's insanely rare to get. Like, I would be surprised if anyone has this ring already. I have a similar ring. I have slash damage and Rogue Alacrity on it with 2 offensives, so I'm pretty happy about my ring so far. The earring, we want refreshment 10%, which is insane. This is like 3 old refreshing perks. Mandatory, 100%. We want refreshing move, is pretty decent, 1% CDR per attack and only a 0.2 internal cooldown, so we can proc it on every single Hatchet left click basically. And yeah, refreshing recovery, you could go for this, you could also go for other stuff, but I think this might be decent. 60 seconds. Cooldown, it used to be on an amulet, but now they moved it to an earring, and I think this increases the value of this perk, to be honest. We're gonna see how this works out. For the weapons, we want Play Quit's Hatchet, definitely, and go double attunement. If you can't go double attunement, you could also go for keen speed, but other than that, attunement is just currently at the top of the fixed perks on weapons, so there's no way around it, even though I'm not a big fan of attunement on Hatchet because it can attack so fast, and it has a 1.5 second cooldown. On sword, we go for Plague Strikes, obviously, and double attunement. Here as well, you could also go for the keen speed, but I think double attunement on the sword is actually decent, will boost your damage significantly. The shield, yeah, the shield is interesting because all the shield perks is applying not only to sword but also to hatchet. So by getting a shield, we have access to 10 perks in total on a hatchet, for example, on sword. And you can even go jagged, keenly empowered, or even if for some reason you have a defensive slot there, you can go for keenly fortified, which is pretty decent as well. And this all procs on the hatchet, which is really crazy. And yeah, mandatory, you should go for shield aggression here. And the last perk, you have to get defensive, unfortunately, because you can get 4 charm shields, but they're insanely rare in M3s. So you can go for flame conditioning or slash conditioning here. And still playing with the Heart Rune of Dark Ascent, this is pretty much a lifesaver, I think, and a very big damage as well in an AoE. But this will pretty much save your life. You will just jump up and down and you're gonna be full life if you hit like 2 targets or a squishy target. This is very common. A lot of melee players, even range players, play this right now. This is pretty decent Heart Rune. About the offensive charms, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21 offensive charms. Mandatory to put in is obviously keenly jagged and keenly empowered. Then go for slash harnessing. Then go for penetrating empowered. And the rest you should go for vicious and rogue. Vicious, high priority, because rogue, it's only gonna proc on backstabs, and vicious you can also proc on random crits. So I think vicious has slightly more value than rogue right now. To the SnS tree. With the changes to crit, the only change we go for here is the precision. So we used to have recuperation here, and we moved that point to the left tree precision to have an additional 10% crit chance, which will trigger random crits. We have a shit ton of crit damage, not only with wishes, but also the 100 con perk, the 150 con perk got nerfed. And it's gonna deal more damage now to everyone who plays 150 or more. This got reduced from 10% down to 5%. So yeah, crits dealing significantly more damage now. And the rest is pretty much the old basics. We're not going for Shield Rush, like many people are asking me why are we not playing with Shield Rush and instead going for Whirling Blade. The reason is Shield Rush is not doing well ever since they nerfed, or rather removed, the tracking on dodges for melee players. So if you use Shield Rush and the opponent dodges, you are not traveling in the animation, you're basically stuck. You're stuck in the animation for like 1.5 seconds and the enemy is just running away or just attacking you, kiting you, which is really bad. So if you play against a good player, he will completely outplay you. You're gonna shield rush him, he's gonna dodge, you're gonna do nothing, and he's gonna bump you probably. So I'm not going for this anymore. I don't think it's necessary. Whirling Blade is a very good secondary option for this. It has rend, it has a decent range, decent hitbox, decent tracking, low cooldown, decent damage. Hatchet, nothing changes here. We're still going throw. We're going to take those perks. The Relentless 3, we don't need it, we have enough in power anyway. So yeah. Attributes, this has changed. We have no attributes on gear anymore. We go for 50 con, you can also go for 100, but it's not gonna make a big difference. So maybe you wanna go for the damage instead, and if you feel like you're dying too much, you can go for 100 or even 150 and lower the strength dex respectively. Just make sure to get 200 dex maybe, and 200 strength is also decent, yeah. 5% damage on stun and slow rooted, so you can go 200, 200, and go 150 even if you feel more confident on that. The important change this season is that the Hatchet has the same dex scaling as the strength scaling now. So you need to consider that. So going 200, 200 is not hurting your Hatchet damage. It's only gonna lower your longsword damage a bit. And what else can I show you? Yeah, the perk stacks as shown. Vicious has more priority than Rogue. Slash harnessing isn't showed here, but we want 5 times slash harnessing for 15% permanent power basically. We have the Honing Stone that gives us to 22 in power. Then we have the slash damage on ring that puts up 30% in power, and with a Berserk we're gonna be in power capped. If we don't have Berserk active, we have other ways to get some empower. The Shocking Blessing, for example, 10% empower. The sword has no empower issues anyway if you abuse this perk, 30% empower for 5 seconds, which is really huge. And yeah, so much about the build on New World Body paper, I guess. Now, how do we get this gear? It is simple, but tedious. On the weapons and jewelry, we want 3 fixed perks and 2 charm slots each. This kind of combination almost exclusively drops from chest runs and crafting, which will be your major source for those items. For armor, we want 3 charms and 2 fixed perks. This combination drops almost every time from open world mobs, such as the both bosses in Tower of Sun. Obtaining a full 5 out of 5 bis item for this build is extremely rare, as I said earlier, because we need to nail 3 offensive charm rolls, which is already at a 1.9% chance, and then also get 2 fixed perks we want, which usually roll at around 5% rate each. I did some math about the roll rates, also considering the drop frequency of items on my Discord. If you're interested in that, you may take a look, but long story short, for 1 bis item with 3 offensive charms, you need in average around 100 hours of farming Tower of Sun. This is why I suggest you settle for 4 out of 5 bis perk items with a decent 5th roll. This could be a gem slot instead of an offensive slot, or a usable fixed perk roll, like slash or flame conditioning on armor, for example. Now, how do you play this build? As you noticed, it's a full damage build, and it's called an assassin build. What do assassins do? Ambush a target from behind and kill it quickly, then go out. This is more important than ever, because we are very squishy, but so are the enemies. This season, the amount of attributes got reduced, so everyone has less con, thus less HP and less defensive stats coming from those con perks, because they are not reachable for certain builds, and at the same time they all got nerfed. A very important mention is the crit damage reduction from 10% down to 5%. I could say so much more to this build, but if you want to see how this build is played, join my Twitch stream. The link is in the description below. If I'm offline, I suggest you could join my Discord to be up to date, ask questions and talk about the build. Until then, happy chest running and tower farming.